Hi guys, hanging from Esperino and back with another recent pickup video. With EB Games wrapping up their mid-year clearance, I managed to get a hold of a few more titles before things come to an end. First up, I picked up Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. This was pre-owned and priced at $19, but it's essentially in brand new condition. It's complete, comes with the cover art, comes with the manual, and also the game disc is in relatively good shape. This is the Australian version, as you can see by the parental guidance recommended classification down below there, and doesn't really differ too much from the UK version though. I'll pop an image of the UK release on the screen and you can see there is a slight difference in the cover art. Personally, I prefer the Australian version just because you get Piccolo there as well as Android 18 and Goten down below, which is missing from the UK release. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is still relatively rare for the Wii. Even on the second-hand market, it can attract upwards of $50, which is quite significant for a Wii title, and it just depends on the supply and demand. So for $19, it's a really good pickup. This was the first Dragon Ball title to have online mode for the Wii, which was quite good, and it's one of the more comprehensive of the Budokai Tenkaichi series. You can find this on other platforms, but utilizing the Wii Remote or the nunchuck is quite an interesting way to play the series, at least that's from what I found. I don't know if many people are still interested in Wii titles, but it's a really good price at $19, and with the sale just wrapping up, you're probably still going to be able to find it at a relatively cheap price. So yeah, definitely worth checking out the Wii section if you happen to be nearby EB Games in your area. My next pickup is also another Dragon Ball title. This time I picked up Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo for the Wii. This one was slightly cheaper at $14, and it's something which has been around for a while. It's not exactly the rarest of the Dragon Ball titles, probably because it's based on Goku when he was younger, and the manga wasn't exactly popular with the masses, at least not for the Western market. This is the Australian version as well, and you can see there you got little Goku with his little staff, and it was published by Namco Bandai locally, which is a good thing. It's not the best Dragon Ball game, but this one is complete. It comes with a manual, you got the game disc in there as well, and if you're interested to find out the origins of Dragon Ball or just revisit some of the early storylines that Akira Toriyama came up with before Super Saiyans emerged and kind of became popularized, this is a good way to explore the series. I haven't actually had a chance to play too much of it so far. It seems interesting. It's not the best Dragon Ball game, but you know, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, it's definitely worth taking a look at. And for $14, it's a good pickup and at a good price, so yeah, check it out if you do manage to get a hold of one. Hey, my next pickup is the Shadow's Tale for the Nintendo Wii. This one's a bit of a hidden gem, and it only set me back $19. Just taking a look at the cover art, you'd be mistaken for thinking it's just probably a piece of shovelware, but what may catch your eye is seeing that top corner there says Hudson. For those in the know, Hudson Soft were responsible for the Bomberman series, which this is one of their last really good original titles before they got closed down more recently. This game came about in about, I think it was 2010. The game's also known as Lost in Shadow in North America. There aren't so many of them around these days, which makes it kind of a harder title to get a hold of. But for $19, it's definitely worth taking a gamble and taking a look at. The story centers on an unnamed protagonist, where you control his shadow, climbing or embarking up a tall tower. And it's a 2D platformer where along the way you'll be solving a whole range of different puzzles. It's an interesting game. It's definitely unique, but wasn't all that well received during its release. It's actually become quite popular with collectors as word has gotten out that it is actually a really good game. This one is the UK version and it is complete. And you can see that it comes with a game disc and manual, but unfortunately this one, the pre-owned sticker is pretty much glued on, and it's a bit of a pain to remove. Same goes with the spine, so I don't know, I might try and get a hold of another copy down the line just so I can replace it, because this would really irk me in the long run. But it's a game worth taking a look at, and if you're after a bit of a side-scrolling platformer which is a little bit different from the norm, A Shadow's Tale may be worth firing up the Nintendo Wii or your Wii U just to give it another go, and pretty sure most of you won't be disappointed. Check it out, it's definitely a title worth having a look at. Okay, moving on to the next title, I picked up a copy of XCOM Enemy Within Commander Edition. A few weeks ago I got a hold of XCOM Enemy Unknown, which was the original release, and the game did really well that they followed it up with Enemy Within. This wasn't a highly publicized game and it kind of came out and went without much noise, but it's becoming increasingly hard to get a hold of, particularly in really good shape. This one's in really nice shape. You can see the ultimate XCOM experience. It's a standalone title, and it comes with a few of the different add-ons which was made available for Enemy Unknown. And it also introduces a few new elements to the game as well, including new research projects, new armor, new equipment. So if you're a big fan of the XCOM series, this is definitely worth taking a look at. This one only cost me $28, and so I've played most of it so far. It's been really enjoyable. It doesn't deviate too much from the original XCOM Enemy Unknown, but there's enough there to pique my interest, and I'll definitely play it all the way to the end, as I've really enjoyed Enemy Unknown. So yeah, take a look at XCOM Enemy Within the next time you're in your local game shop. Next up is Final Fantasy Dissidia for the PSP. I found this in the pre-owned section at my local EB, and it cost me I think like $13.50, which is fairly decent. It's the Australian release. I also managed to find a North American version, but personally, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I prefer the Australian versions wherever I can get them. This one's in relatively good shape, and if you haven't played a Dissidia title, it's definitely worth taking a look at. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy and you like all the characters, this is essentially a Final Fantasy beat-em-up of the sorts. And they've done a really good job with this one too. You can even see on the inside here, this one has a alternate cover art, which is pretty neat. You got the good guys on the outer part, and then on the inside you've also got all the baddies, which you can kind of flip the cover if you prefer the dark side, which I find a quite interesting idea. I thought this was kind of neat too. The UMD is it's actually clear around the edges, which I thought was slightly unusual. I'm not 100% sure this is a replacement case, so if you own a Final Fantasy Dissidia, maybe just let me know whether the outer case of the UMD is white or not, because I thought that was a bit weird. I've tried the game works fine, so I'm not 100% sure why that's the case, but yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you do own this copy and it looks different to this in the UMD. They did release a sequel to Dissidia, which I haven't got a hold of yet, but yeah, so far this one's been enjoyable, and if you like Final Fantasy and you like beat-em-ups, this is the perfect combination of the two, particularly with PSP games. They're becoming a little bit harder to get a hold of, but they are cheap if you can find them, so yeah, take a look. Final Fantasy Dissidia, worth exploring. Okay, moving on to the Nintendo DS, I managed to get a hold of Akamiden. This one was only, I believe, $15, which is relatively cheap considering this game is starting to rise like crazy. I've seen it go for as high as $60, and God knows what it'll be in a few years from now. But yeah, it's in good shape. This is the PAL version. I know they released an Australian version of this, so, but you know, the manual, the game disc, everything's in perfect shape. So I'm not 100% sure that I'll go looking for an Australian version, but if it does come my way, I'll probably swap it over if I can. So far from what I've played of Akamiden, it's pretty good. It's not exactly like the original Akamiden, in that it adopts a more cutesier or chibi design with all the character art. So if you're not into it, maybe this might not be for you, but I found it quite enjoyable, and the story, it's not the greatest story, but the gameplay's been fantastic so far from what I've experienced, and it's definitely one of the better titles for the Nintendo DS. There used to be an abundance of Akamiden out there, but they've just disappeared. I don't know where they've gone, and finding the Australian version is going to prove to be a pain, I think. But yeah, if you want something else to play on your Nintendo DS and you like the Capcom Akami series, this is worth checking out, Akamiden for the Nintendo DS. Following up Akamiden is another Nintendo DS title. This time I got a hold of Metroid Prime Hunters. This is a really old title, and it only cost me $9 pre-owned, but this thing is in immaculate shape. I kid you not, the case is in great shape. It's the Australian version, and it comes complete with the manual and the game disc, which is also the Australian version. So yeah, I don't know how rare these ones are these days. I mean, This is essentially a first-person shooter Metroid Prime, which I'm not 100% sure a lot of people will appreciate, particularly the Metroid Prime purists, but it is fairly rare now because it has been such a long time since this game got released. This game actually dates back to 2004. That's nearly a decade now. So if you're trying to get a hold of one, take a look down your EB. I mean, $9, it's a pretty good price for what's a pretty old title. It wasn't the best game in the Metroid Prime series, and from what I've played, it's okay. I wouldn't rate it as something on your must-buy list for Nintendo DS, but take a look. You know, you never know, you might find it, and I'd say it's a decent title, depending on how much you enjoy first-person shooting type Metroid games, but yeah, take a look. So yeah, the Metroid Prime Hunters. Okay, my next title is also for the Nintendo DS. I got a hold of Golden Sun Dark Dawn, and this one only cost $28, which is a bargain, particularly for an Australian version. And for anyone that's a Golden Sun fan, you'll know how hard it is to get a hold of this title. It's shot up in price, oh geez, in the last maybe 2-3 years. And this one again is also in immaculate shape. You can see there, it's the Australian release, and it comes with the manual, which is in really good shape, and also you get the UMD, which is again the Australian version. This one came out going back in 2010, and it's really well regarded as one of the better Golden Sun games, and I've played a few hours of it and I can see why. It's really good. It's a really good RPG. For those that are Golden Sun fans, you're really going to enjoy it. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this one, and if you can get it at $28, that's a huge bargain. I've seen this game go for about $100 on the second-hand market, which is just ridiculous for a Nintendo DS title, but keep your eye out. If you do find it for anything less than that, definitely pick it up. It's going to give you a reason to fire up your Nintendo DS or your 3DS if you want to explore some older titles on it. Okay, moving on to something a little bit more older. I managed to get a hold of Digimon World 2003 for the PlayStation. This one is a relatively rare title these days, particularly for the PAL release. I got this in a lot of PS1 titles, and originally I was only after this one title, but the guy offered me a good deal for, I think it was about 9 titles in total, and in terms of price, this game is essentially free, as I sold off a few of the games already, which I wasn't that interested in, and it essentially paid for itself. Digimon World 2003 can go for as high as $100 from what I've seen on eBay, and there's a good reason why. The Digimon games for the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 are really good and well developed games. I remember playing this on my PlayStation way back, and I had a great time with this, and thankfully this version is actually in fairly decent shape. I mean, you got the game disc in there, you've got the manual, which is in relatively good shape, and for a free game, I think it's a really good pickup, at least for me. So yeah, if you're a bit of a Digimon fan or like your Pokemon-esque style games, this is something which is worth checking out, particularly as the years go by. You're going to have a hard time finding this in good shape for a cheap price, because from what I've seen in the last couple of years, it just keeps going up. So yeah, get it sooner rather than later if you can. And yeah, I'm really happy to have this in my collection. My PS collection isn't all that extensive, but Digimon World 2003 definitely a welcome inclusion to the collection, or on my shelf, that's for sure. Okay, I saved the best for last. The very last title I picked up is Mario Party 6 for the GameCube. This one is the box version, which is exceedingly rare these days and unbelievably hard to come by. I actually had a copy of Mario Party 6, just the game disc with the mics separate. To get a hold of the Australian version, you can see there the Australian boxed version. It's proved difficult. I mean, it's really hard to find people that actually kept the box, but not just that, kept the box in really good shape. You can see here, I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but majority of it is intact, and it is one of the rarest games that you'll find for the GameCube, particularly in this condition. Inside is just a copy of the game, and you also get the mic, and then this outer box holds everything together. I'm not sure why people didn't keep their outer box. I mean, Mario Party 6 and 7 both came packaged in this fashion. To find it boxed in this shape is proving to be much harder these days, particularly as more people flock to the GameCube and start looking for this, which is actually driving the price of this up quite sharply. This didn't come cheap, I have to admit, but when I saw it I couldn't let it go, and I am really happy to add this to the collection. It's been on my want list for my GameCube collection for a long time, so to finally get a hold of it, I'm relieved and also pleased at the same time. If you played any of the Mario Party titles, you know how good the games are, so yeah, this is probably the biggest purchase in recent weeks for me, and I'm really happy to get a hold of this one. So just a quick recap of my recent pickups. I got a hold of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for the Wii, Dragon Ball Z Revenge of King Piccolo for the Wii, A Shadow's Tale for the Wii, XCOM Enemy Within Commander Edition for the PS3, Final Fantasy Dissidia for the PlayStation Portable, Akamiden for the Nintendo DS, Golden Sun Dark Dawn for the Nintendo DS, Metroid Prime Hunters for the Nintendo DS, Digimon World 2003 for the PlayStation, and lastly Mario Party 6 boxed for the GameCube. Let me know which games you already own or what you'd like to add to your collection. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and share this video as it really helps me out. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to also subscribe to keep up to date with all my recent pickups and unboxings. Until next time, take care and I will catch you later. Bye!